Hello, this is Craig from bitsbox.co.uk. This is part 2 of our look at Codex Supplement Traitor Legions. In this video we are looking at the Black Legion, the Alpha Legion, the Iron Warriors and the Night Lords. So we're going to look at their special rules, their warlord traits, artifacts and their detachment. So we'll go straight into the Black Legion. So essentially this is the layout for each section, for each army. We have special rules, warlord traits, artifacts, and then the detachment. So, we'll start with Black Legion special rules. Now there are a few things you can and can't take for each army, as well as some special rules which everyone gets on top of that. So for Black Legion, they cannot include any unique units, so that's special characters, other than Abaddon the Despoiler. So that's what makes sense. All units that can do must be upgraded with Veterans of the Long War. However, they upgrade at no additional points. So basically anything that can take Veterans of the Long War gets it for free. And I think every Legion gets this. Psychers with the mark of Tzeentch, Nurgle or Slaanesh can choose to generate all of their psychic powers from the discipline of Tzeentch, Nurgle or Slaanesh respectively. Any demon of Tzeentch, Nurgle or Slaanesh that is a Psyker can choose to generate all their psychic powers from the discipline of Tzeentch, Nurgle or Slaanesh respectively. All units in the Black Legion detachment or formation gain the following special rules. So they have Endless Hatred. So units that have Veterans of the Long War special rule have the Hatred special rule and can reroll failed to hit rolls in every round of combat when attacking units that contain any models from the armies of the Imperium. Also, units of Chaos Terminators or Chosen are troops choices instead of elites. Units in a Black Legion detachment or formation that can normally take Chaos Artifacts can choose to take items from Chaos Artifacts of the Black Legion. And we'll look at them in a minute. When generating warlord traits, a warlord may choose to roll on the warlord trait table here instead. So, let's look at the warlord traits. The warlord and all friendly units within 12 inches of the warlord have the preferred enemy Space Marine special rule. And there's a little note down here saying that that includes Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Deathwatch, Grey Knights, Legion of the Damned and Space Wolves. Interesting that Legion of the Damned are listed there separately. That could be because they're going to be in the Imperial Agents booklets. That's out next week, or maybe they'll get their own codex in the future, which would be cool. But in the meantime, we are focusing on Traitor Legions. So our second warlord trait is each time the warlord rolls on the Chaos Boon table, including for Gift of Mutation, you may choose to re-roll the result, but you must accept the second result. Next, the warlord may make a shooting attack using the following profile. A Strength 4 AP5 template, Assault 1 with Soul Blaze 1 use only. And the warlord has It Will Not Die. 5. If a model is attacking with a melee weapon, any to wound roll of 6 has the instant death special rule, so that's pretty cool. For warlord and all friendly units within 12 have the stubborn special rule. So I quite like the instant death one. Apart from that, they're not really great warlord traits, to be honest. I think they're exactly the same as they are in the Black Legion book. It seems like warlord traits have got better with more recent books, so hopefully other legions may have some better warlord traits. So next we look at the artifacts. So for 25 points you can have the Crucible of Lies. It's impossible to describe the Crucible of Lies, for its image is unique to the beholder. So this could be anything. It says it could be a cloak or an amulet, so anything really can be used to represent the Crucible of Lies. However, it gives you a -1 to your toughness, but you may re-roll invulnerable saves of 1. I wouldn't take it personally. The -1 toughness is a bit meh. I'd pay 25 points to re-roll invuln saves of 1, but I wouldn't pay 25 points to have my toughness reduced by 1. So next we have the Eye of Night, and that's 75 points. Once per game, instead of firing his weapon, the bearer of the Eye of Night can make a shoot and attack. So it's an infinite range, strength 5, AP 4, heavy 1, large blast, haywire, maelstrom, ignores cover and 1 use only. Instead of making armor pen rolls against vehicles, buildings or fortifications, anything that's under or partially beneath the blast marker suffers D3 penetrating hits. So that's quite cool, but that is 75 points. That's the cost of a predator, basically. So yeah, it's nice if there's something hiding in the back and you just want to drop this blast on it. But oh no, 75 points is quite steep. Next is the Hand of Darkness. It's times 2 strength, AP 1, armor bane, flesh bane, and instant death. And it's not unwieldy either. It's 50 points, but that is a really that's a really nasty stat line. However, you can only make a single attack with this weapon per turn. So for 50 points, that's quite steep for one attack. If it replaced all your attacks, then yes, certainly worth for points. So next up we have the last memory of the Euronphos, or Euronphos, or too much stuff was hard to pronounce in this Chaos book, isn't there? This is only for Psychers, and the bearer increases mastery level by 1. So that's not bad, because that's a 25 point upgrade on its own, and this is only 30 points. Do not generate an additional psychic power for this mastery level. Instead, he knows the Sunburst psychic power from a pyromancy discipline. The Psychic can choose to manifest Sunburst with an increased range, though this will have an increased warp charge cost. If you wish to increase the range to 12, it's warp charge 2. If you wish to increase its range to 18, it's warp charge 3. If you suffer perils of the warp, when attempting this with an increased range, you're just simply removed as a casualty. So I don't know what that power does off the top of my head. Hopefully it's really good if you're just risking killing yourself by doing it. So yeah, 30 points. Next we have the Skull of Kerngar. It gives you Eternal Warrior and Adamantium Will. That's 40 points. Eternal Warrior is nice, but again I think it's quite expensive. And then lastly we have the Spine Shard Blade, which is a demon weapon. It's AP 3, and it has the Quicksilver special rule. It gives you +1 initiative. 30 points. Out of all of them, that's probably the one that I would take if I could take one. You know, it's a nice cheap. It's quite cheap for a demon weapon, to be honest. So yeah, the Chaos Artifacts of Black Legion, not overly impressed with, to be honest. Be interesting to hear what you guys think. Certainly, if there's anything you disagree with or agree with in these videos, please leave a comment below. It's always great to hear other people's opinions. So next up, we have the Black Legion Spear Tip. So the Black Legion Warband and Hands of the Baden, your core choices. Then your command, and a lot of these other options are going to be similar throughout all the legions. So I'll just read them out, and I won't go into too much detail in them. So command of Bringers of Despair, your Cyclopia Cabal, Chosen of Abaddon, and then you got Lord of the Legion, which basically you take your HQ choices. So you got Abaddon, Chaos Lord, Sorcerer, Dark Apostle, and Demon Prince. And then just the usual stuff. So you got Lost and Damned, Hellforge War Pack, Demon Engine Pack, Helldrake Terror Pack, Cult of Destruction. There's 1 to 3 units of Chaos Spawn in there. Terminator Annihilation Force, a Raptor Talent, and Gift of the Gods. So anyway, the command benefits, as well as getting to reroll your Warlord trait, which they all have. All non-vehicle units have Fear and Crusader. Not too bad. Any units with Deep Strike special rule can make a reserve roll to see if they arrive from Deep Strike reserve on the first turn, requiring a roll of 3+ to be successful. In addition, If the detachment is your primary detachment and your warlord has deep strike, you can choose to automatically pass his unit's reserve roll on the first turn. So that's not bad. If you want to take a lot of Terminators, you could almost have like a Deathwing style assault in the first turn. So that's quite nice. It's a 2 out of 3 chance of getting that first turn deep strike. So yeah, not bad. I think these are all the same as in the Black Legion book, and yeah, not overly impressive. Give you a different way to play. But yeah, I'd have quite liked the Black Legion thing. I'll just let you take almost everything, because essentially Black Legion is they sort of have everything really, but this sort of just limits you to the more sort of undivided chosen Terminator heavy stuff. But that's, that's fine. Gives them their own sort of unique flavour. But yeah, I'm not massively impressed with Black Legion. Oh, and I did forget, we do have tactical objectives as well for each Legion. So I'll just quickly read them out. So we have Death and Destruction. Score 1 victory point at the end of your enemy turn if a unit was completely destroyed. Fear of the Legion, 1 victory point if at least one enemy unit failed a morale, pinning or fear test. 13 is for the Unworthy, only death. That's D3 victory points at the end of your turn if one of your opponent's models with independent character was removed as a casualty. 14 is Lead by Example. Roll a d6 when this tactical objective is generated. Score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if your warlord controls the objective marker whose number corresponds with a d6 result. Score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if at least one enemy unit is completely destroyed during the turn. If any enemy units were destroyed by a unit with the Veterans of a Long War special rule, score D3 victory points. And then lastly, the Warpsworn Terror is score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if you successfully manifested one or more psychic powers. If you manifested any conjuration powers, score D3 victory points, or D3 plus V3 victory points if you summoned a Bloodthirster, Lord of Change, Great Unclean One, or Keeper of Secrets. Whew. Okay, let's move on to the Alpha Legion. So the Alpha Legion cannot take any unique units, so essentially special characters. Units that have a mark of Chaos cannot be taken. Units cannot be upgraded to take any marks of Chaos. All units must take Veterans of a Long War. And any Demon Psykers generate their powers from their respective discipline. So we have special rules. Chosen are troop choices for the Alpha Legion. In addition, all units of chosen Chaos Space Marines and Cultists have the Infiltrate special role. So that's quite nice and fluffy, so you can have a really nice infiltrating army for the Alpha Legion. Also, if your warlord is from the Alpha Legion detachment or formation and they are slain, you can immediately select another character from the friendly Alpha Legion detachment or formation to take their place. Generate a warlord trait for your new warlord immediately. This can happen multiple times in the same battle, provided you follow these steps each time. Furthermore, if your warlord is from an Alpha Legion detachment or formation and the mission you are playing grants victory points for slaying the enemy warlord, your opponent will only achieve that object if all of the characters in your detachment has been slain. So that's pretty cool. Sort of like that whole I'm Alfarius thing. There's no sort of named characters or leaders in Alpha Legion. Everyone's sort of considered equal in a way. So that's pretty cool. I quite like that. So it's very hard to get Slave the Warlord against them unless you kill every single character. And it's just artifacts and Warlord traits. So the Warlord traits are Forward Agent. Your Warlord has Infiltrate. Could be quite handy, as most of your army does. Faceless Commander. Once per game at the start of any of your turns, you can choose a friendly character on the battlefield that's from an Alpha Legion detachment or formation and has the same unit type as your Warlord. And you can swap the position of this model with that of your Warlord. Pretty interesting. 3 is Expert Timing. At the start of each of your turns after the first, you can pick one of your units in reserve to arrive automatically instead of making a reserve roll. 4 is Hidden in Plain Sight. Your Warlord has Stealth. 5 is Cult Leader. Friendly units of cultists within 12 inches of your Warlord have Furious Charge and Feel No Pain 6+. That's quite nice. And then Alpha Strategist, your Warlord has acute sensors and outflank. So they're actually slightly better than the Black Legion ones. They're not fantastic, but they're not terrible either. Next we have the artifacts. So we have the Mind Veil. At the start of any of your movement phases, you can choose to roll 3d6 and move the bearer and his unit up to the distance you rolled in inches instead of moving normally. You can do this even if they are locked in combat, and if you do so, enemy units cannot consolidate. So that's actually quite nice. If you're stuck in combat somewhere and you want to get out, that's really handy. That's 30 points, that's not too bad. So their demon weapon is the Blade of the Hydra. It's 30 points, it's AP 5. But it's got the multi-headed rule, and it's also rending. Each time you roll a 6 to hit, you can immediately make another attack. Any additional attacks also benefit from this rule, so further hit rolls of 6 also grant additional attacks. And being a demon weapon, you have 2d6 attacks as well, so I think, is it 2d6 or d6? Or whatever, it's still quite a lot. Yeah, I think it's d6. But anyway, it's I haven't played Chaos for so long. You can still have a lot of attacks and you're getting 6s, and yeah, that's pretty cool. 30 points, not bad at all. Next is Viper's Bite. That's 15 points. It replaces your ranged weapon, and it's essentially it's Strength 5, AP 2, Rapid Fire, 24 inches. So 15 points. It's an ornate bolt gun essentially, and yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a Terminator killer bolt gun. That 15 points, not bad at all. You have the Drake Scale Plate, which is 25 points. It's essentially armour. It gives you a 2+ save, and a 2+ invuln save against all flamer type weapons. So if you're coming up against a lot of flamer type weapons, then that's pretty cool. And then there's the Icon of Insurrection, 25 points. Friendly units of cultists within 12 inches have the Zealot special rule. And then lastly we have Hydra's Teeth, which is 15 points. These are essentially a type of ammo for a bolt gun, so they can be fired from any bolt gun, bolt pistol, combi bolter, or bolt gun part of any combi weapon. And it gains the Blast, Ignores Cover, and Poison 2+ special rules. So that's pretty nice. So we have the Insurgency Force. So Chaos Warband is their core choice, and they've got a Lord of the Legion. And then the auxiliary choices are pretty much the same as what we've had before. There's not as many options here as there was for the Black Legion. So, as always, you can reroll your Warlord trait. All non-vehicle units in this attachment have the Shrouded special rule during the first turn. And each time a Chaos Cultist unit is completely destroyed, roll a d6. And on a 4+, you can immediately place a new unit into ongoing reserves. That is identical in terms of original number of models, weapons, and upgrades to the unit that was destroyed, so essentially just the same unit coming back. These new units count as being part of the original detachment, so roll a d6 as described above if they are subsequently destroyed. So they can keep coming back essentially. But victory points are still awarded for the new units when they have been destroyed. So similar to what we saw with that cultist formation in the previous video. So that's good. That's nice that they get something for cultists, because obviously fluff-wise they are sort of a cultist-heavy legion. So lastly, their tactical objectives. So we have Capture and Subvert. 1 victory point at the end of your turn if you capture an enemy building or any unclaimed buildings during this or a previous turn. Sacrificial Fodder. This tactical objective is achieved the next time one of your Chaos Cultist units is completely destroyed. That's pretty cool. Tactical Supremacy. Score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if at least one enemy unit with the following special rules was completely destroyed during your turn. That's Deep Strike, Hit and Run, Infiltrate, Outflank, or Scout. Infiltrate and Annihilate. 1 victory point at the end of your turn if at least one enemy unit was completely destroyed by a unit with the Infiltrate special rule. If at least 3 enemy units were completely destroyed by units with the Infiltrate special rule, score D3 victory points instead. We have Strike from Within. 1 victory point at the end of your turn if you control an objective marker that is within your opponent's deployment zone. D3 if you control at least 2 objective markers that are within your opponent's deployment zone. And then Strike off the Head. 1 victory point at the end of your turn if at least one enemy character was slain during your turn, score D3. Instead, if you killed at least 3 enemy characters, and if 5 or more enemy characters were killed, score D3 plus 3 victory points instead. Okay. So next it's the Iron Warriors. Okay, so again they cannot take any include units, and they cannot take any units that can have a mark of chaos, or they cannot upgrade any units to have marks of chaos. And any units that can be upgraded to have Veterans of the Long War must do so at no additional points. And again, Demons of Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slaanesh can take their respective Psychic Discipline. So, their special rules are Blood Feud. All units with the Veterans of the Long War special rule reroll fail to hit rolls in every round of close combat when attacking Imperial Fist units. However, all Imperial Fist units gain the Hatred Iron Warriors special rule. So there's a little bit of a fluff thing there, just to improve them slightly against Imperial Fists. We'll see this with other legions also, against different enemies. They have Iron Within, Iron Without. Units with Veterans of the Long War have Feel No Pain 6+, so that's quite nice, it's sort of similar to the Iron Hands for the Space Marines. Units of Obliterators and Mutilators are troop choices, which is really good. If you want to obliterate a heavy army, it could be quite interesting. Units can reroll armor pen rolls against buildings that do not result in a glancing or penetrating hit, and add 1 to the result when rolling on the building damage table. In addition, units of Havocs, Obliterators and Mutilators have Tank Hunters special rule. So you can have Obliterators as troops and they all have Tank Hunters, so yeah, very good at killing vehicles and buildings, which is what you'd expect really. And again, artifacts and warlord traits. So, warlord trait number 1 is Iron Without. Your warlord has Feel No Pain 4+, but this cannot be improved by any means. Next is Cold Calculations. Your warlord has Fearless. 3 is Master of Fortifications. After deployment, but before scout redeployments and infiltrate deployments, nominate 1 piece of terrain in your deployment zone. But this cannot be one that you have purchased as part of your army. The terrain piece's cover save is increased by 1 for the duration of the game to a maximum of 3+. Note that a piece of terrain can only be bolstered in this way once. So that's quite nice. Next we have the Technoviral Manipulator. For any units of Obliterators from an Iron Warriors formation or detachment that are within 12 inches of your warlord can fire the same weapon in consecutive shooting phases. That's really nice actually. I quite like that. I think that's one of the downsides of sometimes having to change weapons, so yeah, that's really cool. Your Warlord Hunter's unit has counterattack and split fire special rules while in cover. And then lastly, Master of the Blasphemous Machines, friendly vehicles, with the Chaos Space Marine faction have It Will Not Die whilst they're within 6 inches of your Warlord. So they're not too bad. I do quite like the Obliterator one. Okay, so, excuse me, it's not even late. Artifacts of the Iron Warriors, we have the Warp Breacher. So this is for the Warpsmith only. It is an upgrade to the bearer's Mecha Tendrils. At the start of each of your turn, the bearer can grant the Daemonic Possession Chaos Vehicle upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit within 3 inches of him, so long as the vehicle has the Chaos Space Marine faction and does not already have the upgrade. Interesting. That's quite interesting. I suppose you could just give that vehicle the upgrade anyway, but it's just an option. Next we have the Nest of Mecha Serpents. This is again for the Warpsmith. The Nest of Mecha Serpents is an upgrade to the bearer's Mecha Tendrils. When fighting in a challenge, resolve 2 of the bearer's attacks separately first before resolving the remainder. If both of these initial attacks score successful hits, the bearer's remaining attacks have the instant death special rule. Not bad, but sometimes it's quite hard to hit with your first 2 attacks anyway, if you're only hitting 4+ mainly. Next we have the Axe of the Forge Master. This is 25 points, it's +1 strength, AP2, Armour Bane, Mastercrafted, and unfortunately it's unwieldy. But still not too bad, 25 points. Next is Flesh Metal Exoskeleton. 2+ armour save, and it will not die, and that's 30 points. Next we have for Cranium Malevolus. At the start of the bearer's shooting phase, enemy vehicles within 2d6 of a bearer suffer an automatic hit with a Haywire special rule. Cover saves cannot be taken against this hit. That's pretty good. It just says at the start of shooting phase, so that'll be every turn as well, so 30 points, that's not bad. Next is for Siegebreaker Mace, that's 25 points. +2 strength, AP 4, melee, concussive, mastercrafted, and as for Siegebreaker special rule, instead of attacking normally, the bearer can choose to make a single attack, resolve at strength 10, AP 1. Next we have their detachment, which is the Grand Company. So Chaos Warband. It's just their core choice. It's a shame they don't actually have something with a Warpsmith as their core choice, actually. Considering like some of the artifacts are for Warpsmiths, and he's not in the Lord of the Legion option either, so that's a bit of a shame. For one army would quite like to take Warpsmiths a bit more. But never mind. Again, they can reroll Warlord traits. And they have Masters of Annihilation. When firing barrage and or ordnance weapons with models from this attachment, you can choose to reroll scatter dice. All non-vehicle units from this attachment have the Stubborn special rule. Non-vehicle units from this attachment that are on or within a fortification have the Fearless special rule instead. So, not fantastic. But, you know, it's something, I suppose. But yeah, not overly brilliant command benefits, because obviously you basically need to be in fortifications, or you need to have barrage or ordnance weapons, so... I mean, fluff-wise, you probably would take Vindicators and stuff. I kind of miss the old Iron Warriors from the legendary 3.5 Codex, where you could take Basilisks as an option. And they could take Vindicators when others couldn't, but that would have been nice to see them just get like Basilisk as an option or something. Be quite cool. And then maybe some sort of dedicated formation would have been quite nice. But yeah, I mean, they're not too bad. I think their army-wide special rules are better than their detachment rules. And I do like how GW have given us army-specific special rules, as well as a detachment as well, so you don't have to... You can still benefit and feel fluffy without having a detachment as well, so that's quite nice. And then we have their tactical objectives. So 1 victory point at the end of your turn. If you completely destroyed an enemy unit that's even partially within 18 inches of your own table edge. And 1 victory point if you completely destroyed an enemy unit that's controlling an objective marker at the start of your turn. 1 victory point at the end of the turn if a friendly unit of Obliterators or Mutilators completely destroyed an enemy unit. When this tactical objective is generated, nominate 1 objective marker, score D3 victory points at the end of your turn or the end of the game, if at the end of your next turn or end of the game you control that objective marker. Score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if an enemy building or fortification has lost a hull point or wound. D3 victory points instead if they were completely destroyed. And then lastly, 1 victory point at the end of your turn if at least 1 enemy vehicle was destroyed during your turn. Score D3 victory points if at least 3 enemy vehicles were destroyed during your turn. If 5 or more enemy vehicles were destroyed during your turn, score D3 plus 3 victory points instead. Some Iron Warriors now. I really do like that old sort of Warpsmith model there. Okay, and lastly, we're going to look at one of my favourite legions. Little story. When I first got into this hobby back in 1998, my first army and 40k were the Night Lords, and they're pretty good actually. I quite like the Night Lords, and we will look at them right now. So they cannot include any unique units. course, my Night Lords back in the day did. Units that have a Mark of Chaos can also not be taken. Units cannot be upgraded to take any Marks of Chaos. Again, they must have Veterans of a Long War at no additional points, and Demons of Tzeentch, Nurgle, or Slaanesh can generate their psychic powers. Oh, excuse me. From their respective discipline. Okay, so all units in a Night Lord's detachment or formation gain the following special rules. So anything with Veterans of Long War have Fear, Night Vision, and Stealth. Very cool, what you'd sort of expect really with Night Lords. Also, you would probably expect Raptors to be troop choices, and they certainly are. Enemy units that are locked in combat with any units from Night Lord's detachment must subtract 2 from their leadership test when taking fear tests. It's alright. I don't like anything with fear or fear test, because so much stuff just ignores them. And then you forget about them, even if they don't. And then we have artifacts and warlord traits. So, warlord traits, we have your warlord has the hit and run special rule. We have your warlord and his unit can reroll any to wound rolls of 1 in the assault phase. Your warlord has hatred. Your warlord can reroll failed cover saves. Your warlord and his unit has the Hammer of Wrath special rule. If they already have this special rule, if they are equipped with a jump pack or on a bike, for example, you can reroll any failed to wound rolls when resolving Hammer of Wrath. And your warlord has Rampage. So that's a really strong warlord traits table, I think. There's not any in there that I wouldn't be disappointed in rolling, to be honest. So yeah, that's a really good table. That's probably the best one we've seen so far, in my opinion. Anyway, if you disagree with me, please yell at me in the comments. But I really like that warlord traits table. So now on to the artifact. We have Scourging Chains for 10 points. The bearer's close combat attacks have Shred. Next we have Claws of the Black Hunt, and I quite like this one. They're a pair of melee weapons, so basically a pair of really strong lightning claws. They're +1 strength, AP 3, master crafted with rending and shred. So essentially +1 master crafted rending and lightning claws. Really nice. 40 points isn't bad considering how much lightning claws usually are anyway. But they do replace all your melee and ranged weapons. This is a bit understandable, really. Next we have Talons of the Night Terror. In each fight subphase, the bearer can make an additional D3 attacks, or D6 if he charged that turn, at the normal initiative step. I'm using the following profile, and that's just strength user, AP5, melee and shred. Not bad, it's basically just a few extra attacks, 20 points. Then we have the Vox Demonicus. Enemy units within 6 inches of a bearer subtract 1 from their leadership. In addition, while bearers on the battlefield, your opponent must subtract 1 from their reserve rolls. That's 30 points if you come up against stuff and they like to keep a lot of stuff from reserve, or they're deep striking, etc. That could be handy. Next we have Curse's Orb. The bearer of Curse's Orb can reroll any run to hit and to wound rolls of 1. It's not too bad, actually. 20 points. Quite like that. And next is some armour. That's a Stormbolt plate, 2+ armour save, and it improves your cover save by 1, and that's only 20 points. I think that's really good for 20 points. If you consider how much Artificer armour is in the Space Marine book. And everything's got stealth as well, so to get +1 to your cover is quite nice. So yeah, that's pretty good. So lastly, in this video we're going to look at the Night Lord's detachment. The Raptor Talon is actually a core choice, which is really nice. So I quite like that. And it makes sense, it makes a lot of sense. And you've still got the Chaos Warband if you wish to not choose Raptors. So, command benefits. Reroll Warlord traits. That's pretty standard. We can reroll all failed charge rolls for units in this detachment, which doubled up with a Raptor Talon is really nice. Because remember, they can deep strike and charge on the same turn. So, you know, if you're re-rolling them charge rolls, that is really nice. I really like that. If a Night Lord player wishes the Night Fighting rules to take effect, they are automatically successful. There is no need to roll. And whilst Night Fighting rules are in effect, all non-vehicle units in this attachment add 1+ to their cover saves. So I mean that's really good as well. And if you want to use Night Fight, you've already got stealth. You're getting +1 to your cover save as well. And you know your Lord can have that armor. So yeah, really nice. Really nice. Unless you come up against like flame weapons and stuff, etc. But you know that's pretty cool. So we'll just quickly look at their tactical objectives, and then we'll leave it for this part of this little video series. So score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if you killed any enemy characters in a challenge. 1 victory point at the end of your turn if at least one unit made a successful charge. Score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if you completely destroyed an enemy unit that was either in cover or that deployed from deep strike. Score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if you completely destroyed one enemy unit with the assault during the assault phase of your turn. D3 victory points if you completely destroyed 3 or more units during the assault phase. Score D3 victory points at the end of your turn if you completely destroyed at least 2 enemy units that were controlling objective markers. And lastly, 1 victory point at the end of your turn if your opponent failed a morale, pinning, or fear test during your turn. And if they failed 3 or more, it's D3 victory points, and if they failed 6 or more, it's D3 plus 3. Okay, so in the next part, we're going to look at Word Bearers, Emperor's Children, Death Guard, and World Eaters. And of course, Thousand Suns we looked at in the Wrath of Magnus book. I'm in part 1. There's some really exciting stuff coming up in the second video. So of course, you can subscribe to our page if you want to keep up to date with all the latest videos, and you'll be sure to see when that comes out. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if there's anything you agree or disagree with, please leave a comment below. And yeah, I've been filming a lot of these videos lately, so I've been just chatting away to myself quite a lot over the last few days. So I'm going to take a break before I do the next one. And all that's left to say is thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.